yesterday's post, we talked about making some short videos about the 6 pillars of health. Today, first, I will want to keep this as short as possible video about the 6 pillars. So, on the board, for us, 6 pillars of health or / personal leaderships or happiness or whatever you want to call it. Basically, it all starts with nutrition. We're not going into detail on any of the pillars. We're going to talk about the whole thing as a model now. Training, rest and sleep, work, social, media, contacts, community, and resilience. I think you can find the 5 somewhere, but I think the angle for us is that we put an extra pillar on the 5, and that's the resilience one. And you can train that separately from the rest to increase everything. So think about this. Think about that you are a DJ and you have 6 knobs to turn on, right? And if this is the model, then we have 6 knobs to go up and down with. This is elite fitness. This is sickness. We want all 6 pillars shoved up as high as possible on this board, right? And of course, in a perfect world, all 6 would be here, but not possible. So rule number 1 already is we need to find balance in those 6. The idea of the model is if the gap between one of the 6 is too large, you have a problem. So let's say, although nutrition is very important, but if you put the nutrition up all the way up and everything else drops, the gap between is too large, you have a problem. Maybe you have an eating disorder or whatever, right? Because you're going to be paranoid about nutrition. It also counts for the other pillars, so you need to find balance in those 6. In hard times like now, in crisis, even more important, right? Because when I look at my business stats right now, I should be laying in bed crying, but it's not in my system. Why? Because I think the golden ticket in those 6 is how resilient are you? A lot of colleagues talking about the same principles, right? Scherpschutters, Rico Brigio with his hyperteam, Tibor, they all talking about not go for safety, but go for resistance. That means you can only grow if you find the resistance, go through the resistance, and move forward. For us, it's the no compromise mindset, right? So no compromise on your end goal, just find your way in small steps towards that goal. Whatever happens, pick yourself up, go towards that goal again. So one of our quotes is, everything is your fault. And when you have seen the post yesterday, when you see that initial post and you have a negative association with it's your fault, going into defense saying, yeah, but the virus is not my fault, this is not my fault, what has happened is not my fault. They have a negative association, and then there might be something wrong with the balance in those 6, right? If you have a positive association with the quote, it's your fault, and that's what we created with our non-compromise mindset. As soon as something happens, crisis, let's say a mental ambush moment, everything what's happening in the world right now, we go into what can we do mode, right? So let's say it is my fault. Let's say, in other words, it is my responsibility, and I didn't call it responsibility because I want to go harder and more direct, right? So yes, it is my responsibility. What can I do in this situation, and not focusing on what can't I do in this situation, right? So be resistant, think of what can I do, not what can't I do, and make sure that you take action and not going into inaction, and that's doing nothing. The 110 rule, shortly, in the end it's about which person are you? Are you the one, when thrown into a problem, you have 10 additional problems, or creating even more problems, or are you the one who has a problem and find 10 solutions for that problem? Okay, so this is the general idea of the model, and in the next videos we're going to talk about more and more into detail in especially the pillar of resilience, but also we're going to address all the other ones.